Hello and welcome back to part 2 of this series where we are going to be going over how to make the weapon, and you are going to be able to fire the weapon, aim the weapon after this video is over. So as of now we have a player and a ground that we can walk around with the player and do stuff like that. But before we start this video, I just want to change the color of our player because I don't really like it. I think I'm gonna go with like a light blue, something like this. So now if we go to play, I'll show you guys what we already have. If you were watching the last episode, then you know that we have a player that we can jump, and we have a ground or a platform. But to start making the weapon, what we are going to have to go and do is go to the player scene. Under the player, we are going to want to add a sprite. So we're going to want to add a sprite, and I'm going to name this weapon because that's going to be our weapon. Under the weapon, we are going to want to add a position 2D. That's going to be our aiming mechanism. So for the weapon, we are going to want to add a script. I'm going to name this the weapon.gd. But before we get started into coding on this episode, I just want to point out that if you guys have not already went and hit that subscribe button, make sure you do go and hit that subscribe button so I can be making more episodes or more parts to different types of series to help you get better at game development here on Godot. But let's get started with the bullet script. So in the bullet script, we are going to want to have a ready function. So function and a normal, if I can type, normal ready function just like so. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting the bullet as the top level. So this is just going to let us see the bullet other than anything else. So you don't really have to add this if you don't want to. I'm just going to add it because it makes the game look a little bit better, and you can do it if you want to as well. Now we're going to want a physics process function. This is going to, I went over this in the last episode for the player, but this is going to just keep running over and over as long as the game is running. Now, what I'm about to go and add is something that's going to make the weapon kind of bounce around in your hand, so it's not like part of the player, but it looks like the player is holding the weapon. Now, again, this is optional, but if you do want to add it, you might as well add it to make the game look just a little bit better. So position, and we want our x axis for this time. We're going to want to get a parent. Whoops, what is xm? Get parent. That's a function, and I forgot to put the little comma after this x like that. All right, get parent, and then dot position dot x, and then 0.5. You could do 1, and I don't think it makes a difference if you were to do this, but for something like this I normally use 0.5. But if you do want to use 1, I don't know why you'd want to use 1, just so you can be different. I think you can, but there's also no difference. So lerp position, it's going to be the exact same. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to, what am I doing? I'm just going to get this, copy this, and then paste that. We want to make all the position dot, we want to make all these say position dot y. Over at the end, we are going to want to remove this 0.5. After position dot y, we're going to want to add a plus sign because we want to add 10. And then 0.5. This is just going to allow it to bounce and look better. So again, all optional. This here, what we're about to do is important. So we're going to want to do variable mouse position. This is, and the variable for the mouse position is just going to get the global mouse position, and that's it. So now we have our mouse position. Look at, just so you know, this is a Godot function, so you can have the item apps automatically look at it. We want it to automatically look at the mouse position, and that's kind of it for this script so far. Now we're gonna have to come back and add more, but as of now we don't have the bullet, so we have to go make the bullet script, then we can come back. but we are going to make the weapon. So click on your weapon sprite. I'm going to add some type of weapon in here, and you know what, that will work. We'll just do something like that. That'll be fine. We'll go with a color red. And yeah, now if we were to go and play, which I will do. Hold up. Something's not working. Position. Did I spell it wrong? I did. I spelled position wrong. That's on me. And there we go. Now it works. We got a weapon. Now obviously we can't shoot it or anything, but you can see that it does follow your mouse. If you jump, it follows your mouse. You can see whenever you jump how it like bounces around. Whenever you walk, how it lags behind kinda. So it kinda looks like it's just moving around with you. There's really no point in that. This is all you need right there. That's all you need in the physics process, but add the rest. It makes your game look a teeny bit better. Now we're gonna want to add a new scene. So in this new scene, we are going to want to add a area 2D, and area 2D just like so. And in the area 2D, I'm going to rename this to bullet, because that is our bullet. We are going to want to add a sprite. If I can type. So once we add the sprite, we're going to want to go back to the bullet. We're going to want to add a collision shape 2D, and then we're also going to want to add a visibility indicator or visibility notifier 2D, just like so. So we'll just start off by making the bullet. The bullet is going to be something pretty small, so we'll do something like this. Oh, whoops. No. The bullet's gonna be something like that, I guess. I think that's kind of actually really small, but it'll work. The visibility notifier, we want it to be pretty big. Doesn't have to be exact. The collision shape is going to be pretty exact, just like so. Alright, so now for the bullet, we're going to want to go and add a script. Bullet.gd, that'll work. So in the bullet.gd, or extends the area 2D, what we're going to want is we are going to want a variable, which this is going to be our variable for speed. So yeah, we're going to want to actually export this though, because export var speed, and I'm going to make the speed of this bullet travel at a wonderful 2000. 2000 is going to be my speed. We're going to want to make a ready function, if I can type ready function, and then we are going to want to again set this as the top layer, because we want the bullet to be at the top layer of the screen, just like the weapon is also at the top layer of the screen. So set as top level, and that's it, or true, because we want that to be true. Obviously, we're going to want to make a function that's going to say process delta, not physics process, but process delta, just process delta. Now in this process delta, we are going to have the bullet basically rotate and turn based on how the gun, or I'm not going to say gun, but how the weapon is facing. So it's going to change the position and everything like that. So position, it's going to plus equal a vector 2 dot right times speed. So this is just going to allow us to shoot the bullet off at any direction that we choose, and then this is going to allow us to rotate. Remember, if you don't have this, it's not going to work. It's not going to work at all. So make sure you do add this, just like this rotation, and we're going to want to times this by delta, just like so. If you don't have that, nothing in this entire script will work. So once we do add, whoops, my bad. But once we do add that, we're going to want to make another function. This is going to be called the physics process function. And yield. This is the first time I think I've ever used yield in a video on this channel. So now we want to get our scenes tree. Our what do we want to do here? We want to. So we're not going to want to have to fire our bullet infinitely, right? So we're going to want to have a timeout. So if we can do a little command called get tree and then dot create timer. So that's just technically like a tree of commands. You can call the get tree, but then set it to like a timeout. I'm just gonna do 0.01. That's going to be classified as our timeout there. So that's our timeout, and so we can fire the thing 0.01, so you can't hold it down. That's kind of the purpose for that. Now we're gonna want to set our physics process to false. So basically, this is only gonna run during certain times. Honestly, I don't even know what this does. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no idea what this here does. I'm guessing it turns this off because I was having trouble with this timer. I'm gonna be honest with you. I got this part off of YouTube. This whole function right here off of YouTube. Because, you know what? This is a perfect time for this. What was that called? Set physics process. Right here. It's right here. It's a method. Where is it? Set physics process. Right here. Enables or disables physics. We're receiving notification. Usually physics. Okay. So it just turns off physics. I didn't even know that was a thing, if I'm being honest with you. I had no idea that was a thing. You know what? We'll roll with it. Now we're going to want some functions. So, visibility notifier. Hold up, let me fix this up. Visibility notifier. If you go up here, you click on this little node button. You get all these commands. Now, the command that we want is screen exited. And we're going to want to link that back to the bullet. So, basically, on a screen exit, so if the screen exits, or if the bullet exits the screen, we're not going to want that on the screen anymore, right? Because it's going to lag the game out. So if you do a little fancy, all right, popped up right there. If you do a fancy command called q_free, then it's just going to get rid of it. But now if the bullet enters a body either, so if it enters the ground or it enters a wall, we also want the bullet to disappear and not just fly through. So if we go to the bullet, we go up here to the node, and then we do body entered, and then we want to connect it to the bullet. Then we can do the same little q_free down here, and that's going to allow the bullet to not, or to get removed whenever it hits a object that's not out of the screen. Now if we go back to the player, we click on the weapon script. Now we have to add some more stuff to this script that is going to allow us to actually fire. So first I'm going to come up here and I'm going to add some variables. I'm going to add a variable that's going to say like can fire, and I'm going to equal it to true. This is just going to be like the timeout for the timeout function. We're also going to want a variable to get our bullet. So bullet is going to equal a preload because we want to actually load the bullet into the scene. If we do something like that, and then that's bullet.gd. If I do bullet.tscn, I'm pretty sure I have that right. I don't, because I never saved it. If you go back and save it as bullet.tscn, then you do have it, just like so. So that should work. Hopefully, yeah, there we go. Now we're gonna want to come down here. This is all gonna be under the physics function. If input, we gotta make a fire button, right? Because unless I've used some key that's already made, but I'm not going to do that. So if you go to project settings, go to input map. I'm going to make something called fire. That'll work to fire the weapon. Mouse button, I'm just going to make it the left button on my mouse, and that will work. So if input dot is action pressed, and if the fire action is pressed, like that, and can fire equals true, which is a variable that we did just make. If that does equal true, then what we're going to want to happen is basically actually fire the bullet. But first, we want to instance our bullet. I'm just going to name a variable and name it bullet instance because it works and it is simple. Now, to instance our bullet, we're going to do a command here called bullet.instance. I can't spell instance. And then the function command. And that's how you instance something here in Godot. You can do that. I'm just gonna make that a variable so we don't have to .instance it every single time. But now if we use that handy dandy variable that we just made, bullet instance, and we do rotation, because we're going to want to have to rotate the bullet based on how the gun or how the weapon is facing. So that rotation, and we're gonna want that to equal rotation. If I can, what? Okay, there we go. Now we're going to want to get the global position of the weapon, so the bullet can actually leave the weapon, if that makes sense. So if we go to get our variable bullet instance, and then we do dot global position, just like so, and we make bullet instance dot global position, and we equal that to our position 2D that we have right here, which is going to be our mouse. Technically it's not going to be our mouse. It's going to be the end of the weapon, or where we want the bullet to come out of, which technically is the middle. So that's where it's going to be coming, or that's where this is referring to. But that position 2D is following our mouse, so technically our mouse. So position.2D dot global position. That's what we want. Global position. So it's just going to get the global position of the position 2D node. Now we want to do a get parent function, and we also want to get a add, or we want to add the child. So this is just going to clone. So this is going to clone the bullet, so we can have multiple bullets on the screen. And we want to clone our bullet instance, which is instancing our bullet, just like so. Now, once we do that, we want can fire, because we don't want to be able to fire. So I'm going to do can fire is going to be equal to false, and we want to create another timer. So we did this on the bullet scene, but if we do a yield command and we do the same thing, the get tree function, and then dot create timer, and then we do whatever our cooldown is going to be. We'll just go with like 0.2, so we can't technically spam. If we do that, and then if we do timeout, because that's what we want, and then once that goes, or once the timer's done, then we want can fire to equal true again. And I think that is it. No better way to find out than if we try it. So if we have our player, if we click, no, we're not. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the player. Or first, we can see the bullet come out. If we were to take that command off and then we were to play, you'd see the bullet does work. But so what's happening is it is hitting our character, or hitting our player. Okay, I see what's happening. So the bullet's hitting our player, which means we got to get the weapon out of the way. So the weapon script, we could add more to this. I don't really know what, if we do one, I do know that does nothing at all. Huh. So yeah, that did nothing. So I'm just gonna put that back to 0.5. I'm gonna look into this real quick and see what we did wrong, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, so I did find what was happening. So if we do shoot, we can't shoot because it is hitting our player, and that is where the bullet is coming out of. So if we go to our weapon, we go to our position.2D, you can see the little position.2D. If we just go and put this in front, like right there, then we can play and we can fire. It was as simple as that. So if we shoot up, the bullet does not come out. If we shoot down, the bullet does not come out. If we shoot out into the ground, as soon as it hits the ground, it's gonna get removed. Shoot it up. Whoops, we shoot it anywhere else in the map or in the world. But yeah, so that is the mechanism to that. Now, I'm going to be going over in the next episode how to create an enemy. So if this series is helping you at all, remember to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let me know what other type of tutorials you would need here in Godot. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I cannot wait to see you in part 3, where we go over how to make an enemy so you can test out your brand new weapon. But I say this part was probably the coolest part, just because you do now have your own shooting device, and you can go play around with like the speed of the bullet and the how fast you can shoot it. So